All right, welcome back from the Global AM News. It's now time for us to hit the discuss button as we are celebrating the Girl Child. Today is the International Day of the Girl Child. October 11th of every year is being marked as the International Girl Child Day. And we've got a very distinguished Nigerian who will be helping us look at this issue from a very balanced perspective. We've got God Peter, who is the executive director of Claim Foundation. He's joining us via Zoom from Plateau State to help us look at the importance of the girl child, looking at protecting and empowering the girl child for a greater future is what we're looking at. Protecting and empowering the girl child for a greater future is our topic this morning. Good morning, God Peter. Thank you for joining us on Global Morning. Can you hear me? God Peter, good morning. All right, I think we're trying to establish a complete contact with God Peter. While we're trying to reach out to him, let's look at in terms of the girl child and the northern region in terms of protecting the girl child. It's been said that some region of the country have not done so well or has not been completely favorable to the girl child.
Well, looking at the north, that's talking about religion, tribes, culture play out in all of these things. And when you want to talk about the things happening in the north, it's quite different from the way it's been done in the south, the west, and north central, as the case may be. But then, looking at the north, there is a way the girl child is being protected. The female folks, like you have the male folk going to schools like this Almajiri school, Makarantan, Allo, but then the women are kept back at home doing other things. And when you want to talk about, that's where culture comes in now, the issue of marriage. The girl child, some of them get married earlier, all right, than they do in some other parts of the country. And that is what their own tradition and culture allows them to do. So the girl child from the north, and I think recently there have been some people advocating for the fact that anyone that wants to go to school should be allowed to go to school. And of course, those that are getting married, if you want to get married, it should be at will. But since it's a culture and it's something that it's been done, since they are permitted to marry 2, 3 wives, as the case may be, some of them go into marriage earlier than expected. There are in some parts of not the north now, there is some part of the world where the girl child go through what we call circumcision, which is not accepted to some other persons because of the health implication and other things. But we are so glad that now civilization has actually taken its place, such that the people now have the understanding, they are better informed about the aftermath of some of this culture, this tradition, and they are trying to come out of it. And these things now, as it is being put, not just the north, but in every part of the country, there are certain things, that are peculiar to the girl child. Talk about circumcision in some parts of the south, then you talk about early marriage to some from the north, then you want to talk about people in the west where they believe, or maybe some parts of the country where they believe that the place of the girl child is just in the kitchen, and for that reason, they are not being given much attention. And in some climes, when you give birth to female children, that was before now, people believe, no, you need to give me a male child or the next thing will be a divorce. And that's, I think, from the eastern part of Nigeria, it happens like that. Not just the eastern part of Nigeria, it's a belief in this part of the country that the male child is superior to the female child, which is not the truth. I've said it here before, I've said it on this program when we got started, that it depends on how these children are being brought up. The upbringing, okay, matters a lot. So it's not just peculiar. These things, this tradition, this culture, these beliefs are not just peculiar to the northern part of the country alone. To each region, there is a particular culture or tradition that affects the girl child, either positively or negatively. But the bottom line is the fact that civilization has actually cancelled a lot of these traditions, a lot of this culture.
All right, well said there. It's so sad to say we've not been able to re-establish contact with Gad Peter, the ex-executive director of Clean Foundation, who was supposed to speak to us from Jos Plateau State as regards the International Day of the Girl Child. But hopefully we'll get him before the end of the program, where we can also will be talking about the just concluded local government elections in Plateau State. But for now, we'll be going for a quick break. When we return from the break, we'll be having Dr. Robinson Chisom, who is the Senior Governance and Compliance Advisor of the Heal the Youth Foundation. She'll be joining us live in the studio to help us look at the girl child. Stay with us.
Global Morning is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofrebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television. Get in on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
the Global Morning team.
Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Oji walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bands, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point. This is business.
welcome back from the break. You're still watching Global Morning, and like we did say, we keep to our promises. We're looking at the Girl Child. October 11 every year is being marked and celebrated across the world as the International Day of the Girl Child. And so, because we're gender sensitive, initially we were supposed to talk with the ex-director of Clean Foundation in the person of Gad Peter, but the network wasn't so favorable. So now we have Dr. Chisom, Robinson Chisom, in the live studio. She is the Senior Governance and Compliance Advisor of HEAL, the Youth Foundation. So she's here to help us understand the mechanism or the makeup of the girl child. Nice to have you in the studio, Chisom. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me. This is a great opportunity, and it's an honor to be here. Thank
All
you
right,
so much.
today is your day, so to say. All right, let's look at the girl child. Let's begin from when the girl child is born. First of all, that's culture stuff of parent and the society said. First of all, when you hear a child has been born, like girl or boy, and if it's a girl, congratulations, but if it's a boy, bouncing baby boy. There's nothing to qualify the girl to say, okay, beautiful baby girl, but you hear bouncing baby boy, the excitement and all that. Tell us how big this challenge for the girl child starting from birth.
Okay, so I think that that's a beautiful question, or even a good opening for the conversation about the girl child. Being born, male, female, or any gender, being born, the idea or the practice or just even the what happens is just a very beautiful situation, talking about how conception happens, the changes during pregnancy. Now in our practice, they start to talk about the first 1,000 days of conception. So I'm going a little bit backwards as to, okay, you meet this nice person and you're ready to have children. So that happens. So that entire concept, at first, nobody really knows what gender it would be, right?
True.
Yeah, so that just happens. And then formative processes happen depending on what you eat or just genetics and how that happens, and then the XY chromosome or the XX, right?
Yeah.
So that happens, and now you have something that is maturing into another thing. So you point out what now happens when we are now given the opportunity to see it, right? So that's when you now call it boy or girl.
Yeah. Okay.
So it has a lot to do with what we know. So it's going back to naming the animals, right? This is a lion. This is a cow.
Okay.
So, and then now we're having to name bouncing baby boy. And then what we now forget, okay, this is what a beautiful, okay, beautiful. Okay, that's what if you think so, she's beautiful.
Yeah.
Now that's because you thought it was beautiful baby
yeah.
boy. That's your definition. And that's a very fair and very, amplifying. But also, you notice it's beautiful. It's bouncing. Right, so adjectives and naming. So it does have a lot to do with our, society and just identification, naming things properly. So that when you want to anchor down on the conversation about the girl child, it really has to do with identification. No, in any framework. In any way you want to do any work you want to do, you have to have a framework. And most of the time, framework has to do with identification of what that thing is.
Yes, okay.
So if you want to talk about the girl child who we're really talking about today, it's identifying her for who she is. Not what, but who. That's why I keep using the word adjectives, right? It's who. We're qualifying her as to who she is. So I love that you opened with that. So identifying her as to who she is. So I think that's a great conversation. It's a question for all of us to answer. While I would want to suggest some of the things that have worked in the past, one of the things that really does work is identifying things based on the cultural and the social context. Naming the girl child because, is she black or is she fair? You know,
Okay.
you know, they say omopupa. You know, like, you know, you name her based on the context.
Okay,
That
okay.
works. But also coming back to your solution, I really loved your solution by saying that beautiful, something that's very generic, something that's very noble, something that is very empowering. So if we are able to select or identify girls from a place of empowerment, from a place of, you know, connecting her to something that is beautiful or strong, you know, it's not weaker vessel or something of the sort, where you call her, you know, something like really intelligent girl,
okay.
or, you know, problem solving, or maybe that's too big, but if you could call her something like beautiful, if you talk to her, intelligent girl, oh, you're such a smart girl, or bouncing. What would be another word for bouncing? That's for us to think about. So maybe it will come to us during the
Let's look
conversation.
at from the medical perspective now.
Okay.
The girl child and the boy child, who seem to go through lots of hormonal and changes that tend to affect her decision making in terms of when they become adolescent and all that. Is it true to say the females go through more changes and their changes is more impactful in their lives in terms of making decisions and who they become?
Wow. Okay. That question is so bold, and I would beg to answer the question
From your
you know,
perspective.
from my perspective, and you know, I'm happy to know that I didn't say it all correct, but from my own learning so far,
Great.
I know that I can't, at this point, to be politically correct, you can't necessarily say one gender does it better, but why not? Why not?
But
Let's
doesn't
have
the
the
child go through this first
let's
because
go
of
through the conversation.
Issue
So
from that point
one of the things I
perspective.
do want to also you know, join you in that conversation with is girls go through the physical changes, right?
yes.
So many people think about the physical changes because these are the things we see. Everybody goes through changes. For boys, I'd start with the boys. One of the difficult things that I don't know if you noticed, but younger boys sleep a lot. They get tired a lot, and it has to do with bone and growth development. So the joints are, you know, getting
Feminine.
longer,
Okay.
and they're getting taller after 11, because girls, you know, a 5-year-old girl and a 5-year-old boy, there's really a difference when you see. Girls are usually taller
yeah.
before their 6th birthday, right? Before their 7th birthday. Girls look taller with the same boys. But as boys, you know, climb into adolescence, they start to grow taller. And those changes are very painful. So usually one of the things that God does for us, you know, when he was trying to make Adam, Eve, he made Adam sleep, right? So that
I get the
usually happens
connection.
with younger boys. So younger boys get tired a lot. They're always fracturing. You know, they're always having sprains. They're always having, so this has to do with, you know, calcium and a lot of things. So one thing I wanted to anchor on at the end is really about nutrition for boys and for girls. But then for girls, this also, for girls, you talked about hormones. So, and then the changes that are triggered when you have to be, you know, pubertal.
Yeah.
So now you notice that certain hormones are actually triggered in the body, and then you start to see some physical changes. You have things, you start to hear things like estrogen, and then you start to hear things like, for the boys, testosterone, their voices come out, and all this cracking, you know, go from high pitch for the boys. But for girls, you start to notice, you know, acne for some girls, right?
Okay.
Yeah? So this has to do with, you know, something about ovulation, right? So when you start to have those eggs that are now, because we're all born, women are all born with the number of eggs that they're supposed to use all their life. Wow. So by the time it's 13, hey girl, it's time. So you start to, there's this trigger that now starts to happen. The eggs start to, you know, come out and say, okay, I'm ready to be fertilized. I'm happy to be fertilized. Or let me start testing this out. So that also has this hormonal changes go through the blood, and then you start to see acne. Sometimes it gets so bad you could see more hairs For women, it starts to grow in certain places you don't want to see. You see younger girls, they start to have different things on their skin, so skin changes.
Okay.
Now, because we started with beautiful girl, she's a beautiful girl. Now she's getting into adolescence, and now we have these big things on her face, and then she now has something that's coming out of her, something red, you know. So this is the girl that used to climb the tree, right?
Play with the boys.
Play with the boys. And now she has to sit like this, you know. She doesn't need to go to school. She tell herself that, you know, if I go to school today, or, you know, I don't have pad, you know, I don't have that thing. Like, what am I supposed to do? You know, the boys, like, how am I going to go through this? So, as much as the physical change, as much as the hormonal changes are happening, the physical things and the dynamics will need to change, because of, you know, just your own self. You start to wonder, what am I supposed to do? And if you don't get the education right, especially because we're now talking about how many educated women are our mothers. So what did so how educated was my mom to tell me what to do? Was she even ready? Did she prep me for this change that I'm about to go through? So she just so I don't know. Many girls don't have pad. Many girls don't have the things I would do. They don't have bras or clothes, proper clothes to wear, because of the economic, you know, and the challenges that you're talking about. So whether or not a family is poor, let's say if a family, or rather, since we're in this context, if a family is poor, right, and you have a boy and a girl, the same age, a set of twin in the same home in Nigeria today, the boy will probably go like through his pubertal changes differently than a girl. If you wish to say that, more easy, he would sleep through it. If there's anything. But then she would have to wake up in the morning and then have to deal with her period every month. And if she doesn't have pads, she'd have to use, you know, things like her clothes. Things like, and she'd have to wash that out, or she would have to, you know, these are the, you know, details of it. But that's just one example. I'm anchoring on this example because these are simple things we can see. I don't want to talk about the other physical things that also make her a prey to society. She now looks more fleshy. So, and then people start to do facial expressions you don't understand, and social cues that she's like, so, and then everybody's curious. So she's curious, why is he looking at me? So she's not noticing the change. She's just more, and then he's like, he's pointing, and then she's like, what's going on? So now, I want to talk about safer spaces. So what do we do in our homes that make these girls know that that's okay? That it's okay, and more importantly, that the boys they're growing up with don't neglect or use that for a conversation, and let it just be. Like, what are we doing? There's so many things we could do. Like I said, it really has to do with how much my colleagues, men colleagues, tell me it's okay, that they know. Or more parties, like, how much now? Right? Do you understand? Or how about, you know, schools having these things around, you know? So there's so many things we could do, homes.
Okay, let's look at the roles of, like you rightly pointed about parents now, and society and schools and the government itself, the civil society organizations like yours. Do you think they've done enough to protect the girl child? And for parents, there's always this fear of sex education for parents to their children. Rather, what the old story is, if a boy touches you, you get pregnant, as a way of scaring the girl from getting sexually active, rather than tell her, this and this happens if you do X, Y, Z. How would you assess that as one of the challenges for the girl child?
Protection issues are not my, you know, these are, when I talk about protection, I get really, really like serious because protection issues, I like to point out that they are legal issues.
Legal issues.
Yes, I want to anchor down that they're legal issues.
Why?
I know that this is not my area of
Expertise,
expertise,
yeah.
right? And I want to still say that these are legal issues because now we're talking about the rights of the girl child.
Okay.
Now we're talking about her right, or just generally the right of anyone. And the right of anyone has to do with the direct discipline when this is violated. So that's why I'm talking about legal issues. So first things first, when you talk about protection, so we use simple the simple reference for protection for me is birth certification. So birth certification gives me the identity. You talked about being the girl child.
Okay.
So now that birth certificate, not the one that is registered in the hospital, but I'm talking about the national population certification.
Okay.
The one that's very green and very beautiful with the barcode. Because that's the legal identity. The registration of birth in the hospital actually is not a documentation that you can take to the embassy if you want to travel. Right? It's the birth certification from the National Population Commission that actually makes that really guarantee that this person has an identity. This person can transact. This person can do business, right? So that's what we're talking about, the legal aspect, and then giving somebody an identity and then protection. So if I have a name, since I have a birth certificate, since I have something that can tell that I am I'm identified in that community. Now, what are the things we can put in place, or are we doing enough to put in place the things that will protect a boy or a girl child? So if I'm a girl child, one of the things that I need to be protected from, right? You first of all need to know what I should have. I should have my right to life. I should have my right to free education.
Yeah.
My right to play. I'm a child. I should play.
Yeah, true.
Girls are working so hard. You wake up in the morning, you clean the room, you go to school, you come back, you cook. When is she going to play?
And play is very key.
Very key. When is she going to eat? Because one of the things we also notice, because she's cooking, do you know she forgets to eat? So is she eating? How? Because now we're talking about, because some of the data sets.
Yeah.
So some things are telling us that girls are anemic in their adolescence. There are a lot of malnutrition is happening a lot in adolescents. And now we're also talking about, because you brought up protection, I have to focus on the amount of girls that are getting violated. It's 1 in 5 girls. So every 5 girls you see, one of them has been violated, her rights, even sexually so. She didn't consent to that particular activity. So when we're talking about protection, we're talking about every right that the girl should have and what the society needs to do. That's why we're talking about safe spaces.
Okay.
In the home, is it a safe space for girls to actually be part of the conversation? Do we have situations where your mother was called out to the kitchen? Wait. This conversation cannot happen. My wife is not here. Okay. Or because you're there. No problem. Just go on. So what happens in that situation? So by the time I, as a girl child, sees that my mother is always being called into a conversation, I maybe feel a little more confident. My mom has a say. She contributes. Okay, that's something I could look up to. That's something to aspire to. Because somebody is talking about the capacity to dream. Do girls have the capacity to aspire? So if this communities, my home, and everywhere I'm going is a safer place for me to contribute, to participate, to play. I can go out with, I have, a place I could go and change my pad that's, clean. Maybe I'll be more...
We're in line with what you're saying. The 2024 theme is the girl's vision.
Yes.
For you, do you think they have enough information, well educated enough to have a vision? And most times, do you think the vision of the girl child is followed through by their parents or supported by their parents, rather than parents trying to influence the girl's vision or question her vision because of the age factor?
So the capacity to aspire is a very fair conversation to have.
Should it be a natural stuff that shouldn't be influenced or doubted or questioned?
Personally,
Yeah.
from my own experience, when I say my own experience, I'm talking about my own immediate society, the work that I see. It's very beautiful to watch people tell you what they want to be when they grow up,
Okay.
right? So it starts from there. So usually, I noticed that, are we listening when the girl child says, I'm going to be the president? Like in Nigeria, I remember saying I was going to be a president. I don't say it anymore. I don't need to say it anymore because
Why?
I'm like,
What you see?
no, the female,
Yeah.
but you don't need to answer. No, but do you? But do you? Are you looking forward to it?
I am. I'm
Yeah?
looking forward to it, even though the chances, I see the chances as being kind of bleak. But I feel like it's worth the try.
Yes, but I had the capacity to even aspire to be a president. Right? So where did that come? So a lot of us don't have strong histories, or we are breaking off from who we are as an people. So who you are, right, allows you to know who you want to be. So there are people that migrate from because of the different situations that happen in Nigeria,
The challenge,
insecurity,
yeah.
and poverty and healthcare barriers, and then just think of all the things you need to do to solve your eating problems. I'm not very certain that your home can inspire you enough to think you can be more than just, I just need to make hair so that I can, it's very, reachable.
Reachable.
Right? I don't want to be, so big. Just the simple. Let me start with the simple things simple.
And get through
So
that.
it has a lot to do with our home economics and what's going on in the home and the dynamics. There's a lot of pressure on the home now. How much your daddy has to bring on to feed everybody. So the capacity to aspire has been really strangulated. So but there's hope, actually. I don't want to talk about that. There is definitely hope. It has a lot to do with how much I believe in, my child, how much I'm listening. It actually has to do a lot with, when we're talking about early child development in ECD, it has a lot to do with active listening of the parents, of the society. How are we listening to the children, to the girl, when she's asking? So it does help us in our programming. Whenever we're working with children, whenever we're working with girls, whenever we're working with young people, we're always listening. What are they saying? What do they want? So she might just say, all I want right now, I just need to sleep. Let her sleep. I'm tired. Need to sleep. Let her sleep. I'm tired. That's enough. Or I'm hungry. Right? What are we doing about this thing, Graham? The way that we help out.
All right, let's begin talking about the empowerment now, and also the getting the best out of the girl child. In terms of empowerment, do you think empowerment has been consistent from the family front, government, and civil society organizations? Because most times, like we're having this conversation, it seems to be it's only when we have the International Day for the Girl Child, or we're celebrating a Women's Day or something, that the girl child conversation is put in front burner. How do you think we can do more to empower the girl child and make them know that they've got, and in the nation at large, especially 2 or 4 years ago, where Nigerian women tried to push for down, and it was obvious the Ben folks felt it was a challenge and that the women were going to get out of hands. What is the issue of that girl child women thing, that notion that women always play to the gallery when power is given to them? Especially if you also remember all that has played out in the humanitarian ministry, even though that's not enough reason to judge the women folk, because the men as well have not done any much better.
Thank you so much for that question. I would say for us is following with our ability to follow the science. What do I mean? If the statistics say 1 in 5 girls, it's 1 in 5 girls. It's not going to change because you don't believe it. The numbers say 1 in 5 girls are getting violated. So it is happening.
Okay.
So you must follow the science. If it says if it tells you about malnutrition in girls, like out of every 10 girls, you have 2 that are malnourished. What are we like? That's where I know that we're not doing anything, or most times we're not remembering this in our programming or in our interventions. We are not putting. It's good to notice it in the when you're writing your research paper or you're making like you said, when we now come to the International Days, Girl Day, the day of the International, not enough. So like you asked, it's not enough. It doesn't solve any problems when we are just waiting for 1 day in a year to come out and do something to reduce the numbers. If it says 1 in 5 girls today, what do we do every day today to make sure that no girl is violated? So there are things you can do where every girl has access to iron folic acid supplementation, because if you want to deal with anemia, you have to include IFS, we call it IFAS, into every girl's supplementation.
Okay.
In your home, every young girl in your home needs to actually start her iron folic acid supplementation to be able to manage anemia during her pubertal age. It really does help with dealing with anemia and helping us get to better and healthier societies. So what can we do? These are, we've been advocating for as a community of people that are working in the humanitarian space. That's on the one hand. But then when you now talk about political dynamics and power dynamics, truly, I noticed that many people don't know how to work with women, right, or listening to women. And I always ask the question, there's some of us that actually haven't tuned our ears, like you have this tuning your ears, if I don't change the channel to 365 on DSTV, right, I will find, so sometimes we actually have to take that step and tune our ears into the conversation. So when your wife or your sister or somebody starts doing that yapping how about that's actually how she talks? How about you just focus mirror in on the conversation and listen to the conversation and allow it. Why can't we allow it? Why do we always have to tell a woman, calm down? Does she have to? Let her speak. And let's try and listen to the screaming. What about that's the tone? I know of course, let's start by listening and then we can, help her navigate into the conversation into this cool baritone that you have. I don't have it. My voice is pitched every time I talk. So it doesn't matter if I'm happy or sad or angry. No matter if I say the word, I do these pauses when I talk. So it looks like I'm, going for it. Everybody's not telling me, calm down. And I'm like, I'm calm. Like, I'm actually calm. So it's about listening. I will really want to talk about that listening, following, because it has to do with the basic science. That's observation. You can only, like they always tell us in an emergency situation in medicine, you ask, you look, and you feel. These are the definite ways to actually diagnose a situation. You can ask questions. You can look into the situation, and then feel it. Feel her pain, and then let's go from empathy into designing things that have to do with true resilience building, because it's sustainable when you make this woman actually part of the solution. You make the house economics better. If she's doing what she wants to do, if she's making money, she's contributing to the dynamics in your home, and you don't die earlier. Men die before their 60th birthday. That's the start. So you don't have to.
That's scary.
You don't have to. We live so long, women. We live so long. So let's join you. So we could tell you how to live long and live better. You don't have to be working so hard. We could do some things. We do some things really good. We do a lot of things really good.
Right.
Okay, let's, as we begin to wrap our conversation up, the girl child in the rural areas and that in the suburban areas, for you, do you think there's a difference in what they go through?
Definitely.
And do you think who gets more support and who needs more support?
Okay. I talk about who needs more support.
All right.
So we are so opportune in Hillview Foundation to be working with the American people through the Institute of Human Virology here in Abuja, and then we also IHVN, yes, and then we're also working with APIN Public Health in Plateau State. So there are these programmings that have to do with we call them orphans and vulnerable children, OVC, and then we're working in communities. So we're working in underserved communities. Now, I'm happy to announce that there's a tech hub in Kurudu. And IGN was insisting that nobody, through Hillview Foundation, like nobody should get this access apart from those that are we have to look for them. That was the criteria they gave us. You have to go and look for those that are underserved.
There's a truly vulnerable
girl child. And I'm happy to tell you that last week we celebrated 30 of those girls. 50 people graduated and 30 of them were girls. Girls under 24 years old now have tech skills. So we're so proud of that. And now we can truly go, everybody's leaning towards the conversation where let's go and find them. Let's leave no one behind.
How did you find them? What were the criteria? Where did you look at? Did you go to say, okay, because we think this community is, pardon my term, but like it looks really child or poor, they're cut away from civilization, that's where you go, or what were the indices to decide which community to head
Very
towards?
good question. So there's an argument about how to identify poor homes. You don't see smoke. You don't see smoke coming out of their house because they're not cooking. Because we're using fossil fuels. We're using charcoal to cook. That's the assumption before. That was how they used to identify if that home was not eating in the past. So they just know that they didn't cook. That's how they used to check. You know, if it's time to eat, they'll be blowing the fire at that time. So you see smoke from the compound. So if you're not seeing smoke, it means that was one of the nascent
So that should be in the mornings or in the evenings or just...
Exactly. That was what was working at that time. But now there is all this information now has been triangulated. So there are things like vulnerability tools. You can assess the level of income in the household. You can assess the level of education. How much risk? Is there any risk? Is there any form of violence in that home? Have they reported, or is there a sense? So we have things like case management workers that are community-based individuals. So people like you and me, but we're living in this community. But we do home visits. We actually do home visits. The real social work, case management approaches, where you go into the home and you're not from I want to, but from an appreciative inquiry where you're focusing on the strength of this person. We notice that your home, despite the challenges in Nigeria today, you guys are still trying to do XYZ. But is there, from this strength, is there any way we could
support and help?
Yeah, what's going on? So you start to do appreciative inquiry, positive deviance inquiry. You start to observe. Please, can I come to your home and just visit your home, your friends, and pay attention? Notice what they're not giving you. Notice what's not coming out. You say you visited them 3 times, water did not come out. So you know that there's some challenge. So that's how we can know that these are the people that need the support. That's how we do our work.
All right. Let's going forward in terms of Hillview Youth. What are also the challenges you face trying to also help the same girl child? And what do you foresee in the future as regards the girl child? Because statistics tells us population-wise, we're triple. It used to be double, but now it's more like triple the male folks. How is this a challenge also?
More like opportunity.
Opportunities. Okay, great.
I told you
how big is that opportunity?
We live longer, right? I told you so. If you empower, if you want the Nigerian community to thrive, the Nigerian
You
thing.
can only say empower the girl child, empower a nation, but like you rightly said, you said it seems like we're just empowering the girls.
Right? There could be a disbalance. Of course, like I told you, you have to follow the science and create balances. You know, if there's no balance, the society will correct itself. But like the question said, there are lots of challenges that happen when you're trying to empower the girl child. And if you don't, especially if you're not doing it in a sustainable way, and that's when you start to have problems where you are empowering the girl child and leaving the boy child behind. And that's not what we're doing in Heal the Youth Foundation. So, like we said, the numbers are still showing that girls are more violated, girls are more out of school because of the challenges I had mentioned.
Sure,
it's not even because there's no money now, it's because with the sanitary hygiene and all of this are limiting their access. They're dropping out of school, or their attendance rates are not consistent.
They're dipping, yeah.
Yes, so these are the challenges. So it's with this narrative, boys will always go to school, right? So it's about staying in school, so we're balancing all the knowledge. So we are trying to make sure that the equity has to do with making sure the person is on enough ground to be able to continue to remain. So that's what the programming is about. We're just making sure that we're not causing more disbalance, but we're balancing the skills and making sure that everything is more equitable. So that's what it has. That's what we're really talking about, and yeah.
All right. In terms of global support, would you say Nigeria or the African continent has got enough global support? Because yes, we see this on the international scene, girl child. We talk about the Yusuf Malala Foundation and all that. Do you think the support has been sincere in terms of trying to help the African continent deal with the issue of the girl child?
A very good question. So I think the international government, I know we've observed a trend now. Everybody's insisting on resilience building. Johnny, I think some of the international governments are saying journey to self-reliance. They want, everybody's talking about, what does that mean? Everybody's now talking about local ownership.
Okay.
So international aid and international support is fantastic, but if we don't get to the point of local ownership, hand-me-downs are not going to solve the problem.
Well, in terms of local ownership, how difficult has it been? Especially
terribly difficult. It's almost impossible. If you don't, I remember somebody telling me that I'm not the one that asked people to start a foundation. Why must I help you people out? It's you that wants to help children. Me, I'm helping myself. Why should I help you? So that's the tone of the conversation. But then again, I'm also very happy to say that Nigeria reports third in global giving. Nigeria gives. Like the church, when it's Sunday, everybody gives offering. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of aid. And that should go into development. So we are really, as a community, contributing to development, but we're not owning it. We're not saying a girl child in Nigeria must go to school in our homes. We're not following it in our village. We're not saying that. You're not going to your village to make sure, okay, so how many girls actually finished secondary school in this my community where I finished from? We're not checking, we're not monitoring, we're not evaluating so it's one thing that you give me money, like our donors are very kind to us, but we're not happy to just take the money from you. We're happy to report and to tell you, but we also need you to look at the numbers and say, did we do a good job? Ask us the questions. Are we doing a good job? It's difficult, it's hard work, it's a lot of resources. Like my other colleague Seth that connected us to this opportunity. We're so grateful. They do so much work and they do it out of pocket. They've never, in 10 years, they're yet to get international funding. They've been doing it from local, from all of us, from you, from me, technical support, money. It's a lot of things they've been doing to help people, but it's still not enough. It's very challenging because, like I told you, the tone of the conversation is like, NGOs have money now.
Yeah, because that's the question, the impression. NGOs, they get monies, fundings, and some of them divert these funds. But in terms of, you made mention of the religious bodies. Do you think the religious bodies have been completely sincere? Because we see lots of fun, like White Pony, they have lots of funds, but we've not seen a deliberate attempt by the clergy, the religious, to channel this out specifically for the girl child.
Pastor, how many women pastors are you inviting to your church? I don't know, but so
You got me there.
so the conversation is.
But even if we don't have many women pastors, the pastors are married to women. Just like the governors are married to women.
That's a big conversation, and what I would say there is back to the leadership. One of the things, like I told you, it's our responsibility. It's a very responsive and responsible position to take as an individual, as a Nigerian, to start to ask questions, good questions, like, where's their audited financial statement for last year? What did they actually use the monies for? So an audited financial statement is a document that many institutions that are registered, many of this, we're not seeing a lot of registered business. So the government is holding us accountable, and we should also hold ourselves accountable and say, what are we doing with the resources that we have on ground? So I'm not even talking about the money. The church workers that spend so many hours in church praying, how much development is coming out of that? If you're spending 8 hours in church praying every day for 7 days for 1 month, right? What comes out of that? Do we just go back home and relax? Oh, I prayed so much last month. I'll take another week off. And then so many productive hours need to be demanded for, accounted for. So praying does, support a lot of things, and that's, you still need to put out some work, you need to do some. So my point, using that illustration, it's about counting the value of the input you put. Like, so you work this hard, what's the result that should be expected? So sometimes what you do in our program, what we do is we first of all check in the beginning. Okay, we assume, okay, it takes 8 hours every week, every day to do this amount of work. So if we're 5, simple mathematics. If it takes 5 people to raise a building, how many people will it take to do this? Yeah. So ask those kind of questions. You put that in the back of your mind, and then you run. And then at the end of the day, you now check: did it actually take 5 people to raise the wall, or what did we need? What were the challenges? And then we start again. You rinse and you repeat. So this is what the religious bodies, institutions, that's definitely what I'm definitely asking us to do: monitor, evaluate our processes. Let us definitely document successes, lessons learned. Let's read. Let's really follow the science. Like, let's use good approaches, working approaches that allow us to own our own development. Let us count our own successes. So for me, it's like 30 girls out of 50 students had graduated from the Tech Hub. I'm really excited about that. And then, so what can I do to make more girls? Or what will I do to ensure that this 30 girls are productive, or this 50 dazzlers, 50 dazzlers are like successful. So those are the questions that are important to me. So we'll keep programming, we'll keep doing things to make sure that is success.
All right, so my last question for you will be on the national level now. We know the National Orientation Agency is a very strategic agency of the government. Girl child to be put forward on a daily basis in terms of helping mentorship programs for the girl child in order to understand and appreciate what kind of professions they should be able to go into.
That's a key ask. I do know it's important that the National Orientation Agency, the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs and Social, the Humanitarian Ministry, the Health Ministries, and it's, every ministry invariably deals with girls, right? So anything and everything that has to do with, first of all, these ministries, first of all, we do have to recognize that most of the work they do has to do with policy. It has to do with driving, like setting the tone of the conversation. So the tone has to be very healthy at the top. They have to be giving us that they need girls. You know, that should be the orientation. We should know as a community that we need girls. We need each other to thrive. You know, even, I don't want to say irrespective, but even with the gender of child, even with the gender and the identity of the person, we need you. We're not leaving you behind. That should be the conversation, leaving no one behind. Everybody has to be empowered. Everybody has to lead. Everybody has to innovate. That has to be the conversation. So, especially for the national orientation, they have to have policies and probably give us keywords and hashtag. The government has to lead on the hashtag building girls. Or you know, a girl with a future, the girl with the future, the girl with the vision.
Yeah.
Become a girl with a vision, you know, dazzle the world. You know, those could be the words, those could be, you know, the orientation that the NOA could really put out there when they do their real nice broadcasting. Tell us what to say, so that we can start to be oriented about what is resilience, what is sustainability when it comes to girl child, and how they can vision a good future, how they can dream big, in the end of the day.
All right, I want to say thank you very much. We've been talking to Dr. Robinson Mavis, right? Mavis Chisom. She is the governance
compliance
officer of
advisor, actually.
An advisor, of the Heal the Youth Foundation. It's been amazing. Thank you, for the great work. And the 30 dazzlers, hopefully one of these days we'll get one of the dazzlers come tell us how they went through the process and how it has made them better girls and what their vision is in line with the 2024 International Day for the Girl Child.
Thank you so much.
All right, so that's how much this conversation will take. We'll go for a quick break. When we return, we'll be wrapping up the program. Stay with us.
Global Morning is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofrebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television. Getting on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
the Global Morning team.
Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Oji walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bands, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point. This is business.
Ramsey.
Welcome back from that segment. It's been a very wonderful one. And of course, that's so much to know about the girl child. And of course, I think sometimes it's very important when you're hearing from people who have been at the forefront, and a lot is being learned. For me personally, I'm getting to know so many things about the girl child. I have a lot of value for the girl child, and I so much believe in what they have been bringing to the table and will keep bringing to the table. And I think if we have the society this enlightening, it's going to go a long way helping the girl child, not just the girl child, but then everyone in the society, because what actually brings this high level of advancement is the unity in diversity, and that's exactly what is being preached today. Don't mind me, I'm calling it preaching. Well, as it is right now, you were busy, enjoy yourself. You were while you were asking those questions,
Yeah.
what was actually coming to my mind is, well, I think Anthony should also have an NGO that has to do with the girl child, because you know, those of us in the media space, there is this level of awareness that we can create, that will permeate, that will penetrate, that will get into the society and make better impact than some persons who are out there. Because number one, you know, the channels of communication suitable for every person in the society. If you want to deal with a girl child, you know how to go about it. If you want to do, let me say
I think I would do that with the boy child. I think
why is he escaping? Why is he just talking about? Come on,
you said it. This is what.
Why are you running away? Why are you running away from having an NGO that has to do with a girl child?
I think you're better suited because.
Why? Why do you think so?
You know, you've got a knack for dealing with women. You're very smooth with women, and so.
How do you mean? How do you?
You already know what I mean.
I don't know.
You're a good advocate for the women.
I don't know. No, the truth is this. The truth is this. There is so much, so much ability in the girl child. Joke apart, I think
more than the boy child.
I am not doing a comparison. What I'm doing
just a
is
question. It says there's so much, like there's none for the boy
there is so
child.
much, to I don't know. There is so much to be gotten out of the girl child, and
enough.
there is so much, in the boy child. And the truth is this: one cannot exist perfectly in isolation
without the other.
Without the other.
Sure.
And that is the reason why there is this. There is supposed to be unity in diversity, because if you bring what you've got on the table and I bring what I've got to the table and we put it together.
The men folk always get scared when they meet a woman that seems to have a lot to offer, and they tend to now want to use the masculine part of it to dominate the woman. Why is that?
Well, this topic is a very big topic that if I start dissecting it today, time wouldn't be enough.
No, but
let me begin from. I'm going to say something, definitely.
Great.
I'm going to say something. But I'm just trying to let you know that this is one topic that I'm so interested in.
Serious?
Because this has resulted to broken homes.
So I think we have.
This has resulted to divided society. This has resulted to people pulling back, holding back their energy, what they've gotten, their talent, not harnessing it. You know, as it is right now, we just need to make things very, very clear. What am I trying to say? The men should not feel threatened by the intelligence of the woman. And when you say there are some men that their ego seems to start playing out when they see a woman who is intelligent, a woman who is smart,
great skill set,
that happens with men that has little or nothing upstairs.
Okay.
Okay. And as a matter of fact,
that's really hard. That was harsh. Below the belt.
well, no, that's
men
the
who do not
truth.
have things upstairs. Let's, like Ramsey has rightly pointed out, this is a conversation we're going to deal with. Hopefully next week we're going to deal with that conversation, and we hope we'll be giving a very balanced talking point. Ramsey has promised he's going to get us a fantastic guest that's going to chew on this. And Ramsey, before when we started this morning, you said some things about Amos 3:3.
Amos 3:3 said, except two agree, they cannot work together.
Okay.
So that is the same thing is still playing out.
Okay.
Except the lady. Okay. See, I told you it's a very large topic.
Yeah. So
because submission is very important.
Yeah.
Okay. And
the women don't
submission, because the reason why this ego plays out, it is a two-sided,